Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be doing a review and how to play video of Harry Potter House Cup competition, so let's get into it. So this game is a 2 to 4 player competitive board game where you take control of various Hogwarts houses and then play as students attending Hogwarts in attempts to win the House Cup for the year. And so you'll play as these students going through taking various classes in classes like potions, charms, and defense against the dark arts, and level up their skills, and then also have the ability to take lessons and compete in challenges throughout the year to see which house is going to win the House Cup competition. But let's jump into the game so you can see how it's played, and then I'll jump into my full review from there. So the first thing that you need to know is how the game actually works. And so you're going to be playing as various houses in Hogwarts, competing to be the victor of the House Cup. And so over the course of 7 rounds, students in your house are going to use knowledge and magic to level up their abilities in different classes. So they're going to level up in potions class, defense against the dark arts, and charms class. And so the player with the most points at the end of the game is going to actually win the House Cup. And you'll do that by tracking your points in the various classes in the House Cup. So each house has their own individual colored gems. And so as you acquire gems and basically victory points, you're going to place them in the different vials for each house. So to set up, the player who went to school most recent goes first. And so you will give them the first player token, which is this owl token with the letter. And so we'll just say that Slytherin is going to go first in this game. And the first player actually chooses what house they want to be affiliated with. And then the other players can choose in a clockwise fashion what other house they want to be a part of. So you'll simply set up the board like this, choosing each house. You'll choose these little trophy tokens and place them at level 1 for each character slot, representing that each student has a level 1 ability in each of their classes. You'll also give each student 2 basic lesson cards. These are lessons that they can learn on each turn. Also, each character will get 2 knowledge tokens, which are these little book tokens. The third player will get an additional knowledge token, and the fourth player will get 1 magic token, the little hats, as well as an easy challenge card. You can then flip up 3 of each lesson type. And then 3 of each challenge type. This basically forms the store in the game. The next step is you'll randomly choose 1 level 1 token and place that face up. This is a new location that people can visit during the game. Then you'll randomly choose 2 level 2 tokens, and these go face down. They'll be revealed as you play the game. And then you'll choose 1 level 3 location and place that face down as well. You can simply discard the rest of the locations and put them back in the box. You can set the House Cup hourglass off to the side and then just make sure that each player has the gems easily accessible that they can add as they earn them. You'll also place the round tracker on round 1 to start the game. So the game is played over 7 rounds, as I said, and then each player also has 3 students in their house, and each one can perform actions during the round. And so during phase 1, you'll start with the first player, in this case it's Slytherin, and then you'll go around through the other characters. And so each person will play 1 character from their house, and then it will go clockwise through the other players until all of the characters have chosen classes and actions. So phase 1 is classes, and this is where students can choose what classes to take. And so this is just simply going on different locations. Now, to go on certain locations, you do need to use knowledge tokens and magic tokens to go there. So since you're just starting off in the first round, you don't necessarily have those right away. And so you might choose this one, for example. And so when you're on this location, the up arrow means that it levels up. And then this is the potions class. So Draco would level up 1 level in potions. And then he could also draw 1 easy challenge. So he could take one of these easy challenges into his hand. So whatever you think that you can achieve based on the players that you have, you might take that and put that in your hand. And then you would simply immediately flip up this next easy challenge. Now, the second aspect of your phase 1 is that you can play a lesson from your hand. So if you have abilities between a single character whose turn it is, so for example, if Draco happened to have 3 potion levels, he could attempt this lesson and complete it. And so then you would just simply follow the instructions on the bottom of the card of what you get as a reward for completing that lesson. And you can only complete 1 lesson per character per turn. So from here, it would now move to Gryffindor, player 2, and they would choose one of their characters to go through and take a class. Now you can go in any order of your characters. They don't have to be the same every time. So I could take Ron Weasley if I wanted, and then I could happen to go to the library. And now in this instance, library would give you 3 knowledge tokens. So I'd simply take 3 books and then give them to Ron. And then it would move to Gryffindor and be their turn. And so you continue in this fashion until all players are on a location on the board. Now, no 2 players can occupy the same space. So as you'll see, when players continue to go on places throughout the board, locations start to fill up. And so there's only so many options that you can do at that point. So once you've gone through phase 1 and all the characters are placed and their levels have gone up, you've acquired all the items on the locations, you're going to move into the challenge phase. So let's just say everybody's here, just for example's sake. Now we're going to move on to the challenge phase. Now, in order to participate in the challenge phase, your team of characters must have acquired at least 1 challenge to be able to attempt that challenge. And so similar to learning lessons in this phase, you'll be able to attempt challenges and you'll follow the same process. So with challenges though, what's different, instead of 1 character taking on a lesson, you actually have all of your characters can work together to take on this specific challenge. So in this case, this challenge requires 3 levels in potions, 3 levels in charms, and 3 levels in defense against the dark arts. And so what's cool with challenges is I could take all of my characters and their total levels and have them work together to complete this challenge. So as your team grows and gets more powerful, eventually you might have 1 student that could fully complete the challenge. That's great, they can do that. Now, as your hands grow and you have more challenges as you play, you might have an advanced challenge, which is a little bit harder to complete. So you might, again, need multiple students to achieve these numbers. So again, this one is 5 charms, 6 defense against the dark arts, and you also need to use 3 knowledge tokens, so have 3 books to be able to complete this challenge. And so once a character is assigned to a challenge, they're committed to that challenge and they cannot attempt another challenge. So if you use 2 characters on one challenge, you couldn't have one of them help out in a second challenge. So they either have to be on one and complete it themselves, or work together on one challenge, and then the final student could attempt that last challenge if you had the ability to do so. And then in these instances, if they were to complete these challenges, each challenge has a designated reward. So this easy challenge has a reward of 30 gems, and this harder challenge has a reward of 60 gems. And so each one of these gems is worth 10 on a card. So you would just simply take, in this case, this is worth 60. So you would just take 6 of these gems and then put it inside of your house chalice to gain those points for the team. Now, in the challenge phase, you are allowed to complete 2 easy challenges, so 2 purple challenges, or 1 easy and 1 hard, so 1 orange and 1 purple. But you could not do 2 hard challenges, for example, or 3 easy. Again, only 2 easy or an easy and a hard is what you can complete for your team on each challenge. Now, if you don't happen to have the required levels to complete a challenge, you might also use magic tokens. And so a magic token can count for any level in any designated class category. So for example, in this card, it requires 3 potion, 3 charms, 3 defense against the dark arts. So let's say I had 3 potions, 2 charms, and 3 defense against the dark arts, so I would still need 1 level of charms. I could theoretically use a magic token to count for that 1 level of charms. So a magic token can count for any ability, but it cannot count as a knowledge token. So you need to have knowledge tokens if the card says it requires knowledge tokens. So once all players have gone through and taken the opportunity to complete various challenges and earn points and gems for their houses, it will move on to the next round. So you will move forward to round 2, and now you will reveal the next location. And now this is another location that students can choose to go to through phase 1 of gameplay. And so all students will be returned to their respective houses. And so if someone happened to go on this space last round, it also grants them the first player token. So for example, if Ravenclaw, player 4, happened to have placed someone in this space, they would have the first player token and they would get to take their turn first, and then it would go in a clockwise fashion. If no one played on that space, it would just simply go in a clockwise fashion, and it would have moved from player 1 being Slytherin to player 1 now being Gryffindor, and they would take their turn first. And so play continues in this fashion of one player placing a student one at a time, doing what the activity says in the specific classroom. Again, leveling up here in potions, drawing an easy challenge. Again, in this one, you'd be drawing a magic hat, drawing a hard challenge. This one would be 2 knowledge tokens, drawing a hard challenge. Again, it's very self-explanatory when you play your cards in those areas. In the second round, you have access to this other additional location, and then you play through with every student going through. Again, the next phase would be the challenge phase, starting with player 1, attempting any challenges that they have in their hand that they have acquired, going through all the players, earning gems to add to their house. And then once that is completed, you will move on to 3. Again, same thing continues. Once you move on to round 4, you will reveal this additional location. Same thing, get to round 6, you'll reveal this location. And then after round 7, the game is completed and each house will tally up their points. So when it comes to the end of the game and scoring, again, you will score 10 points for each gem in your hourglass. And so each one of these is worth 10 points. You'll also score 10 points or 1 gem for each combination of knowledge token and magic token you have. You will also gain 10 points or 1 gem for each student and each time they have learned a class ability up to level 7. So again, let's say this was how the board ended up. After the 7 rounds for Ravenclaw, they would now have 1, 2, 3, 4 class levels at level 7, and so they would get 4 additional gems that they could add to their total. And you just simply add up everyone's total gems, and whoever has the most wins the game. Now, if there's a tie, the player that completed the most hard challenges is going to win. And if there's still a tie, it'll be the player that completed the most challenges overall. And if there's still a tie, it ends up being a tie. And so you'll just have to play again to see who wins. And that's the basic gist of the game. There's more additional rules inside that further describe specific locations. So if you have questions on how that works, definitely check out the rule book or drop a comment below if you have further questions on how the game works. But now that you know a bit on how to play the game, let's jump into my review and tell you what I think about the game. So mostly when I played this game, I played the 2-player version. So it was me and my girlfriend controlling a different house and going against each other. But then I did play a few times where there are 4 of us each controlling a house in Hogwarts. And so one thing I would stress is that both were very fun, but when we got to the 4-player version, it got a lot more challenging to try and balance what locations you wanted to take your students to, what classes you wanted them to level up in, because instead of just 2 players competing over a variety of spaces, it was pretty much all 4 players competing against the only available spots there were. So it made you have to really think on your strategy, and placement mattered because 3 other people would go before you'd be able to place another character again. And so I liked that. It brought an interesting dynamic to the game. And I think that added to the replay value of the game as well, because even in the 2-player game, and you had a little bit more control of where you placed your characters, there were still so many different ways that you could earn gems and victory points in the game that it made it different every time that we played. You could come at the game trying different strategies, trying to complete a bunch of lessons, trying harder lessons, again, completing easy challenges, sometimes harder ones. And it really depended on the game, how you played it out. And so I really like that. I enjoy board games where you have a lot of different options to win versus having to just do the same strategy every single time to be able to win. So I like that that game had this aspect. Another thing that's cool is a lot of the lessons and challenges were taken from ideas that came from the books and the movies. So that's pretty cool to tie that aspect into it. And then I felt it was pretty relevant in the sense that you would need specific levels and classes that were related to that challenge to be able to pass it. So I think if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll definitely enjoy this game, as it really gives you the feeling and sense that you are taking classes in Hogwarts and trying to be the best house for the year. One thing I also liked is that the game was very competitive, where it wasn't like one house totally blew every other house out of the water. Every single time I played, it was very even. So one team barely won by maybe 1 or 2 gems every time I played it. So I think the game does a good job of keeping things balanced and keeping you on your toes. We're not really going to be sure who actually wins the House Cup until it comes down to the very last gem of the game. But let me know in the comments below if you think this game looks cool. If you've played any of the other Harry Potter board games, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button, as it really helps out the channel. If you'd like to pick up a copy of this game, there'll be links in the description below as well, where you can pick up a copy. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out here. And if you'd like to help support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours over at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us over at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.